Hey everyone, welcome back. We're continuing our little discussion about blog content, and today we're going to talk about things like how to structure your content, how to write good headlines, adding images to your posts, and even outsourcing a little bit if you want to let somebody else do all this for you. So let's go ahead and dive right into this stuff. Let's talk about how to make posts scannable, how to structure a post. What is a perfect blog post structure?
Now, I think that probably the best place to start is to really understand people's habits when browsing online. And the best way to do that is to think about how you consume, written and well, let's just start with written content online. And typically, Matt, I'd like you to comment on this, but there was a study done that 79%, this is an older study, but 79% of people that browse or read articles on the web, their habits tend to leave them scanning the blog post prior to reading it.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually may make the decision after they scan the post, if they're deciding to read it.
Right.
And I think that there's a few things that people look for, like, for example, if it's a list post, you tend to look down and kind of get like the cliff notes, like of what they're talking about. Like, is this a reliable source of information? Am I going to be wasting my time? I think people look at social proof very quickly. They're going to look at how many likes and tweets and Google shares and comments are on the post, because it's like the whole theory. If you're going to a club and you see a huge line wrapped around the door, or around the corner, around the block, you're more likely to be interested in going, hey, what's going on? What are these people all excited about getting into this club? So scanning, Matt. Let me ask you this. This study's been done. I do it almost on every article that I read. I scan it. I look at the main points, and if I want to dive deeper into one of these points, I'll go ahead and read it. And then I'll go ahead and look at the comments and just see, what some people are saying about it, just a quick social proof.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make my decision if I want to, read it. Unless I know the author, and it's a really, I know that they're apt to put out some really good stuff. That's what I typically do when I read a post. Any habits for you that differentiate what I just said?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty much the same. For the most part, I think when people land on a blog post, they don't want to see a giant wall of text. So let's say we have a pillar post that's like 3,000 words long, just a giant blog post, right? If somebody lands on that page and they start scrolling down and all they see is text for 3,000 words, and it looks like they're about to read a freaking book that's on a website, people are most likely going to browse away. So I think one of the most important concepts is really figuring out how to break up your content so it doesn't look like an overwhelming piece of content. And I think some good ways to do that would be, if you scroll through this blog post you're looking at now, we've got some subheadlines, we've got images scattered throughout. As somebody scrolls through, it doesn't look like just this giant wall of text. It's broken up, there's images, there's headlines.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me pause you. How about let's start with the subheadings.
Okay.
How do you typically use a subheading in your blog post? Because I think this is incredibly important. People tend to scan for the main points. It's like a chapter in a book. It's like breaking it up. So how do you use subheadings?
Well, basically, I would just use subheadings whenever I'm about to go into a new topic. Just like you said, it's kind of like chapters in a book. So if I'm about to start kind of shifting gears in that post a little and start discussing something a little different than what I've just been discussing, I'll use a subheadline to change gears and to let people know that I'm about to change gears. And also to hit on the main concepts that you're going to find in the blog post. Because like you said, people are going to scan the post. So you want to make sure any main concepts that are really important in that post are more bold, they stand out. So as people scan, they're going to see that, okay, this, and this are all going to be discussed. I think that's really important with your subheadlines for scannability. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I agree with you. I use it the same way. I like to use and really leverage subheadings because they really break it up. You mentioned, when you have a big solid block of text, I prefer to use 1 to 2 sentences when I write a paragraph. I like to have shorter paragraphs, and also, this is based on preference, but I also like to have a less width to the column that your text is going to be featured in. Instead of having like a full width page, it's very hard for somebody, depending on what screen there are, to read a huge, long, line of text.
Mm-hmm.
So, the more narrow you can make your post column is probably going to be better for you. So I think the best way, we kind of dial back to one of the previous videos where we talked about blog mentors, is to look at what are some of the sites that inspire you and that you like to read. And one of those for us is QuickSprout. You can see a lot of similarities in the way that we structure our posts. We like to use big images that grab attention, that are captivating, because when people are sharing these images on Facebook, what are they going to see? They're going to see the headline, which is it's very important. We'll talk about in a second, and they're going to see the image, and that's what's going to draw people's attention to your post. So we'd like to use a big, bold headline here for the title, big images, and similar to this, we like to break it up. We have a very simple font, something that's clean and easy to read. So if you're getting as far as into changing the font style, we actually, Matt, on our blog we used to have different fonts, and what we realized is they weren't Google friendly and they were hard to read.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So having the right fonts is definitely important. If your fonts are too not the normal font type. Like, what's the normal? He's probably using what, Times Roman here?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that's what he's using. I'm not that great with my fonts, but I would guess it's either a Times New Roman or an Arial font.
Absolutely. So you have let's just look at an example blog post. Big bold headline, big images. Create curiosity with the images. The text is a narrow column. It's not too wide. A good use of subheadings. If you scan the post, it's he's talking about the tactics that he uses to write compelling web copy. So tactic number one, you could scan through this post and just get the main points and decide if maybe you already know one of these things, so you want to skip over some, maybe you don't, but you could scan through here. And it's broken up, like Matt said earlier, very well through the images. The images flow really well into the post, and I think that helps. It helps. It's like a pattern interrupt, so you're not seeing that big giant brick of text.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to comment on this post, Matt, or on the example of what to do well?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty much the model we follow with blog posts. I mean, we're going to get into headlines in a second. We pretty much always write the blog post and structure the blog post before we ever get to the headline. The headline always comes secondary because we put a ton of focus on the headline. But what I see here is that he's using big, bold subheadlines to break it up, so you know what you're about to read if you just scan real quick. You see some images throughout, so you know he's got some examples of various things that he's talking about in this post. He's using quite a bit of links. I think it's important to have links throughout your blog post as well, linking off to other resources that you mention. So people that scan real quickly will see those multicolored links in there and know that, okay, he's going to be linking me out to any resources that he mentions, so that's going to be helpful. And yeah, I mean, you can see over on the left, he's got a lot of social proof on it, 94 Facebook likes, tons of tweets, tons of Google Pluses. I mean, this is the structure we try to model with every blog post we do.
Yeah, a couple more things I noticed that are really important is if you want to write really great, compelling content, stuff that you have to write less of, that's going to get shared more. I prefer to write less. Create less blog posts that are higher quality than have to write a bunch of mediocre blog posts. And that's what Matt references as the pillar blog post. And to accomplish that, Also, research, backing your posts up by research and statistics, numbers are very powerful. Like statistics right here. The end result was an increase in search traffic by 21,429 visitors a month and 200 emails collected per day. You can see that these stats are sprinkled out throughout these numbers throughout the post, and these help validate your expertise. If you're actually doing research and finding other quality, it's like somebody that writes a book. It's not all just stuff off the top of their mind. They're going to cite different resources that they use to put the book together, and I think you should treat it the same way. Screenshots are really powerful. I mean, an easy way, instead of having to put just clip art images, these are all screenshots in here. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to, depending on what operating system you're on, you can easily take screenshots and add them into your video. And as Matt said, links out to other sites also shows and validates, like a company blog post. Like here's one, that we can link out to talking about this topic. 8 incredibly simple ways to get more people to read your content. If I'm referencing this, topic, getting people to read my content, this could be a great post to link out to from your site to a company, further reading for your post. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 2 other things I want to mention really quickly as far as you creating your content and the copy that goes into it. Number 1, actually there's 3 things. You got to hold their interest in the blog post. So you have such a short time to grab them in and pull them into the blog post. So when you're writing your introduction, you need to draw them in quickly with either a story or like a promise or a compelling fact or statistic, something that's going to draw them into that post and get them to want to read it. After that, if you haven't already made the promise, you want to make a promise on what they're going to get in reading the post. So number 1, compelling introduction, something short, sweet, to the point that's going to draw them in. And number 2, what are they here to read? As you see in this post, we mentioned right off the gate, let's see, this is one of our guest articles, one of our guest writers. So if you want to skyrocket the growth of your blog, skyrocketing the growth of your blog, the hard-earned lessons in this post are just what you need. That's the promise that we're making. This is actually what you need to create success with your blog. So those are the first 2 things. Compelling, draw them in with your introduction. Tell a story. People relate to stories. A promise. And then at the end of the post, you want to have a compelling call to action. Matt, what's your best tips for somebody just getting started to create a compelling call to action?
Well, when you're just getting started, I think one of the most important elements on blog posts is social proof. So great calls to action on early blog posts. If you're not selling anything, don't have an affiliate product to promote, whatever, your early calls to action should be things like leave a comment below and ask a question. Don't just say leave a comment below. You can see right here, what is your number 1 blogging lesson learned? Let us know in the comments. Ask a question. Ask the people to leave comments. It's surprising how often you read blog posts and at the bottom it doesn't even ask you to leave comments. You always want a call to action on every single post you write. If you're promoting a product, your call to action might be related to that product. If you're not promoting a product, your call to action has to do with your social proof. Get them to leave comments, get them to like the page, get them to tweet the page, whatever. But that's what you want your calls to action to be on early posts and any post that you're not promoting something. Build up that social proof. Let people that come to your blog and scan the blog know that people are talking about this. People like this post.
Yeah, this one, here's another example, conclusion, when it comes down to it. So what other ways can you create marketing copy without actually writing? That's the call to action. You're creating a discussion, you're creating a community, creating a debate, whatever it may be, but your whole idea of your blog is not to just, speak into a megaphone and, push information at your readers. The whole idea and concept of this is to create a community of discussion where people can add value to what you've said. They can provide additional links. But if you see here in the comments section, you have a lot of people that leave in-depth thoughts, not like great post or 2 thumbs up or like just simple. This is the stuff that adds value. And if I'm looking at this post and I see people having a full-out discussion and writing a couple paragraphs in the comments section, this is the stuff I want to read, because these people are into it, and they're debating, they're discussing. So this is quality information that they're putting out there. So let's just take another example. Let's see if they're on this post what the call to action is. So how about you? What are your favorite techniques for getting readers to lean into your web content? Let's talk about it in the comments. Another thing. Hey, here's my best tip. Pretty solid call to action. So that's how to create compelling content. Let's just kind of recap really quickly. Matt, let me know if I miss anything. Keep the structure of your post narrow. So don't go too wide with your column for your post. You want to use a simple font, something that's readable, easy on the eyes, and big enough. You don't want to be too small where people have to squint to try to read it. Shorter paragraphs, no big block text. Use subheadings to break up your content and your main points. Also, one other thing we didn't mention, but you can use bold, to bring out certain points that you're trying to make. Using research, links, statistics, any research that you could find to accompany your post is going to be powerful. When you're doing the intro, you want to draw them in quickly. Maybe use a story, maybe use a statistic, a fact, something to draw them in quickly, grab their attention, and then make a promise on what they're going to get into the blog post. And then finally, at the end of your blog post, after you've fulfilled all the promises that you made in that blog post, you want to leave them with a compelling call to action, whether it's buy my product, or whether it's leave a comment in the section in the comment section below. One thing we talked about, Gary Vaynerchuk interview I did, my call to action was was tweet the post as well as leave a comment, and that will enter you into a contest to win a book. So there's different ways to do that. So with that said, Matt, is there anything I missed?
Nope, I think that's it. Let's talk about how to write a good headline now. Let's figure out how to get blog post titles, that really grab people's attention, that make them want to read the post.
So what's your best tip, Matt? What's your best tip? What's some of your best headlines that you've ever written?
I'm not sure off the top of my head some of the best headlines I've ever written. I know that using numbers in your headlines tends to grab attention. I think there's studies that show that people are interested in numbers, like 10 things I wish I knew when I started. 7 ninja tricks to do X. Numbers tend to work well. And then also intrigue, having some sort of curiosity in your headline that gets people saying, I need to read more about this. A good way to do that is in one of our previous videos we were talking about dig, and if you look at some of the headlines that some of the bigger articles write, that's a really good way to get ideas for headlines. Use current events, use some intrigue, so people are kind of questioning people are questioning what's going to be next. They have no choice but to read more because that title just really draws them in. One thing I like to do is I like to look at magazines. If you're ever in an airport and you're looking at magazines on the news rack, some of the headlines they put on the cover of the magazine just suck you in to open up the magazine and read more on that article. So that's a good way to find some headlines.
It's like the shock and awe. I think a lot of these here are kind of like the shock and awe, the evolution of the Slender Man. It creates curiosity in my mind.
Yeah, there's one that I just saw a second ago scrolling down that said the case for getting drunk at work.
The case for getting drunk at work.
Yeah, scroll down a bit. Right there with the guy drinking the wine. So this blog post is going to make a case for why you should get drunk at work, I'm assuming. Now, if that's not intriguing, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Shock and awe. You know, you'll see a lot of these stories have a shock and awe. You know, like these popular news stories to draw you in. I think when it comes down to and that's how you're going to get a lot of people to read your post. I mean, the evolution of the slender man. I want to read some of these. I'm just fascinated by I love good headline and good copy, and I love reading good articles.
And the way Dig works is the stuff that people find the most interesting rises to the top. The stuff that people don't find interesting sinks. It gets buried, right? Well, you'll notice a very similar thing with the stuff that rises to the top. They've all got great headlines. They've all got great copy. They're all intriguing you to want to read more.
Yeah. Caffeine spray. So caffeine spray for when you're too tired to drink. Axe body spray meets crack. It's like ridiculous, But hey, shock and awe will definitely work. When you're creating educational posts, the secret behind writing good copy and good headlines is having a benefit in there to how is it going to help me. And let's just take a look at these two that we were looking at. How to create marketing copy without actually writing. I mean, the benefit is clear. How to create good copy in less time. Or if I don't like writing, there's going to be an article that's going to appeal to me. Here's another one that we were just looking at. 8 incredibly simple ways to get more people to read your content. It's a promise. It's a benefit. Simple ways to get more people reading your content. Benefit driven.
And there's a number in that post. It's people love numbers for some reason. If you're going to tell them exactly how many ways you're going to teach them how to do something, people love that. It's
the specificness of, is that a word, specificness?
It is now, yes.
The specificity.
The specificity.
Of the actual post. You're saying, hey, there's 8 ways. No more, no less. There's 8 incredibly simple ways. So it's, like a promise. Hey, you're going to get 8 tips out of this blog post. So try to keep it when you're thinking about your readers, what's in it for them. Mm-hmm. In writing, are you going to use a shock and awe tactic, like a bold statement, or are you going to use like a benefit-driven headline for your post? One of the great resources, we'll put a link to this in the description, but this is an article for the 100 greatest headlines ever written, and you can go through these. This is a post by Jay Abraham, one of the greatest marketers in our time. And you'll see here just a lot of these headlines in here are benefit driven. The secret of making people like you. Who doesn't want to be liked, right? How to win friends and influence people. Obviously, Dale Carnegie book. How a new discovery made a plain girl beautiful. Obviously, appealing to women. And it has a little explanation below each one of these headlines, just thoughts and what made it good. So, and who it's targeting. So this could be a great resource for you to bookmark, and also as Matt said, dig. You're going to learn a lot about writing copy from just studying what other people are doing well. So going back to dig. And if you look at some of, you study what's working well, it's funny enough, like, Matt, you mentioned magazines that you read, you see a lot of, good copy ideas, good headline ideas in magazines. There's actually a show on TV, it's on Netflix, called Mad Men, which is all about, copywriting back in the 60s. The life of this guy Don Draper at an advertising agency, and they talk a lot about in there, not as much about copy, but it's very fascinating. If you want to watch something on TV, watch something about copywriting that's going to maybe help you learn something. But again, find different creative ways. Look at billboards. Look at what draws people in. Your headline is your most important thing. You can use the shock and awe tactic. You can use benefit driven, for your educational posts. benefit driven. Use statistics, use numbers, use figures, use facts in your headlines, and study what people are using out there. We're not expert copywriters. We're pretty decent at it. We also hire copywriters to work for us, but just looking at Dig right here, like I'm looking at the one about Netflix. Say goodbye to your instant queue. Somebody that doesn't use Netflix is not going to probably have any idea on what that means. They're writing something targeted to speak to their audience. You tell Netflix what you want to watch, and now it tells you what you really want to watch, right? So it's it's saying, hey, it's going to be more custom, appealing suggestions for you via video. But speak to your ideal. This is speaking, hey, say goodbye to your instant queue. It's making the assumption that I'm a Netflix user, and they don't care if I'm not, because they're not trying to target me. So these are some great resources. We'll put them in the links below. You can bookmark this, how to write, the 100 greatest headlines ever written. Study this. This is a great resource for you.
All right, so now I think what we should dive into a little bit is the photos on the blog. Let's talk about where we get photos for learntoblog.com, because you can't just find any photo on the internet and just throw it on your blog. You can get in a lot of trouble for that. So there's very specific places that you pretty much need to get your photos from. And I actually did a video a little earlier on over in the Learn to Blog Insiders section about exactly all the different places you can find photos to use, both for free and paid. But real quick, we want to show you where we get photos for Learn to Blog right now. Where we get our images for learntoblog.com is actually a stock photo site called Deposit Photos. And this is actually a site that we've kind of hunted down, did a lot of research, and this has been the best bang for our buck for photos. They have several different plans. They've got monthly plans, or you can just pay for credits. But out of all the different sites we've looked at for finding stock images for the blog, this has actually turned out to be the cheapest. I believe we have a monthly subscription plan.
Yeah, we have a monthly subscription plan, and you can do a Google search, and you could probably find a coupon to discount this price. If you're not going to be publishing a lot of content, it might make sense for you to do more like a pay-as-you-go type thing. And there's other sites out there, that do this similar, this similar type model. You could pay for credits, and each photo, depending on the size, is a specific credit. But then you don't have to worry about copyright issues with images, and it's really clean and easy. And a lot of the photos on Deposit Photos are pretty solid. You have a lot of great photos in here, so it works well for us. May or may not work for you, but we'll put a link in there so you can access this site, but also link to the other video where you can learn more about finding stock photos for your blog posts.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, one little last thing that I want to touch on in this video before we end this and move on to the next thing is actually outsourcing content. We actually have a full course that our good friend James Wedmore made inside of Learn to Blog Insider here, all about outsourcing. It's called the 6-Figure Outsourcing Blueprint. You can look through that course. There's definitely some great details on various places that you can go to outsource the blog post writing if you want somebody else to write it for you. Now, what's this site we're looking at here, Bradley?
This is iWriter.com. I haven't used this personally. Obviously, Matt hasn't either. But I've heard great things about iWriter for getting content written for you if you're going to completely outsource it. Another thing, you can try to use Fiverr. Probably not as good of a place to go. I'd rather go somewhere that's specifically designed for article writing. One that I have used in the past is TextBroker for getting some articles written. Quality, you pay based on the type, the quality of articles. Like if you really want a lot of research done, you're going to pay a lot more for that type of blog post. So you get what you pay for. There's a lot of good writers on here. And but personally, we don't use it too much. We either go for the model of writing it ourselves or using guest writers to create the content for us. And if we were to use and build out like a niche site, and you're creating more of like I don't know, like, something that would accompany like our Kava Kava site. An article on, why Kava is, the best natural sleep aid. This could be a great place to look to get that kind of like simple, type content that you would find on, let's just say, for example, Live Strong blog. Matt, the Live Strong blog, that simple content, you can go somewhere here like iWriter.
One thing that I personally don't love doing myself is a ton of research. I don't love digging up stats and doing a ton of research on a topic. I like discussing topics generally, but when it comes to digging up stats and doing a lot of deep research on stuff, that's not the stuff I enjoy. And one way that's real good to use iWriter, Text Broker, Odesk, Elance, some of these sites that you can outsource these articles to, is actually have them do the research for you. They actually do the research, write the article, and then you basically have some source material to write your own article off of. And I've actually done that before, where I let them write the article for the sole purpose of digging up the research for me, and then I rework the article in my own words.
That's a good point, Matt. I have actually done what you're saying there as far as I've actually paid people to specifically just do the research. So I'm writing a blog post, and I need, hey, can you research these couple things? I'll find somebody on Fiverr or find somebody on Odesk to just do the research for me. Get back to me with a little report, or as Matt's saying, write an article. Have them just create the article for the research. It's good because if you don't have the time to do the research, it's a smart play. So outsourcing, you want to learn more about outsourcing, you can go watch the outsourcing course. But let's just give some really quick tips for scheduling and just being consistent with the blog post. Matt, do you have any tips or things that you've used in your blogging in your business as far as consistency goes? Like, what's your regimen or a regimen you've used in the past in order to be consistent?
Well, I think the most important aspect is just to be consistent. If you make the decision, I'm going to post once a week, I'm going to post twice a week, just be consistent with it. Try to hit the blog posts on the same days. Get the visitors of your blog to kind of know your schedules, so they can come to expect when to come back and know there's going to be a new post there. I just think it's important to be consistent. My current blog over at mattwolf.net, I actually have a daily blogging schedule. I blog every single day. I've been doing it for 5 weeks now. So it's just, it's your schedule. And my blog posts over there, I write real quick, simple blog posts. Sometimes it's a single paragraph just of a little rant or something. But I'm consistent, and I try to get in the habit of doing it every single day. And one way I do that is I'll open an Evernote thing, and whenever I've got ideas for a blog post, I'll just keep a list inside of Evernote of all my ideas. So when that day comes around that I know I'm going to be blogging, I'll open it up, pick a blog content topic from my Evernote list, and just go for it.
That's a really smart idea, Matt, is keeping a running list of all the ideas that you have. I like to do a brain dump, because when you have all these ideas running through your head, it just takes up space that you'd be spending elsewhere, focusing on other ideas, other content. So if you can, Matt and I don't know more as much about you, Matt. I think in terms of headlines. So like, I'll have this idea of an article I want to write, and what I'll do is I'll write kind of like a headline. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll just say, encompass on what it's about, and put a little description about that article, and I'll throw it into a Google Doc. And just so I have that idea and I can come back to it later, so I have like this ongoing bank of articles that I can just extract anytime I need to create a post. It's a great idea. And Matt, I just wanted to support what you're saying. It doesn't really matter what your schedule is. You could write once per week, and try to keep it on the same day, as Matt said, around the same time. Give people a place where they can begin to expect your content. But the majority of your time is going to be spent promoting those posts. So we'd rather see you create a really awesome post that has a lot of research and you spend an entire day creating that post, and then you spend the rest of your 6 days of the week promoting it, getting in front of people, sending out emails to your network, doing anything and everything to get people to see that article that would be your target audience. Mm-hmm. So as far as consistency, accountability goes, set your own schedule, set your own publishing schedule and stick to it and do whatever it takes. Put it in the calendar, set reminders, do whatever it takes to get a blog post out on that day. And that's as far as you really need to know is being consistent.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that pretty much wraps up our blog content strategy when we're doing blog posts ourselves. Again, we're big fans of the publisher model where we let other people publish for us, but the same thing. Just stay consistent, chase up people so that you can get those posts on the same day each week if you're doing a weekly model. And yeah, that's pretty much the blog content model that we use.
Awesome. Next, we're going to talk about some traffic strategies, so we'll go ahead and see you in the next video.
All right, guys. See you later.